I imagine it all went quiet. You know?
It did, didn't it? Yes.
It's not,
Yeah.
it's either, yeah. Well, great. So good turnout again. Thank you for coming once again. And any new faces that might be here, join to look around. Maybe there's one or two. Well, certainly one, I think. Yeah.
What strange faces?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I didn't read it that way. But anyway, obviously you're a friend of Charles. I only met Charles on kind of one of these chance meetings that happen. You know, was it the nursing?
No, he weren't in the nursing home at the time. No. It was the opening.
no.
It was the opening of downstairs refurbishment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gillian had a do, shall we say, here downstairs, combined with a set up in Hullabaloo. And I was talking to Charles at the end of the evening or during the interval, and we just got chatting. And it ended up with me finding out his chair of the Surrey Heath Age Concern. So it struck me a chord. I thought, well, one, I can ask him, can you give a talk? But then the other hand, give him a talk, but can also promote, hopefully, the Surrey Heath Age Concern. So I'm sure it's going to be an interesting talk. I'm not in the Surrey Heath Age Concern network, but I've done a little bit for them, as I just explained. But an interesting subject, a very busy man, always doing something. You've only got to check on the internet to find out. Anyway, Charles, over to you. You can tell us a lot more.
Thanks very much indeed. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, I was shanghaied basically. I made the mistake of not recognising who Mike is, and suddenly found myself here, which is good. And as you can see, I don't mind showing off what I'm involved in or being a showman, but I don't like actually doing presentations with slides, but it's very useful to have the backup. So forgive me if it stumbles through a little bit, but it's a great opportunity to tell you what we're doing these days. Just a tiny bit about me. I joined Surrey Heath Age Concern in 2016. I was actually in a position that lots of people that we approach are in, and my wife had passed away the previous year, and I was just retired as well at 65. So it was a bit of a strange time, to be honest. And a good friend, Dennis Fuller, do you know Dennis Fuller? Ex-county councillor, he said, well, come and be a fundraiser for this bunch, and come and do it as a bit of a job. Gosh, I don't know about that. So I went along, got very interested, and instead of actually becoming a fundraiser, I joined the board and became a very active volunteer, because I loved what they were doing, basically. And this whole business about, as people move on through the ages into their fourth age, I think we can call it, how things can conspire and people can find themselves in a very lonely and isolated position. And that's really what this charity is focused on, reducing. Can't make it go away completely, but that's what we're about. So that's where I came into it. I'm also a local Rotarian, and there's a bit of a link there which I'll come on to as we go on staggering through these slides here. And so a little bit about who we are. We could trace us back to 1970. I'm always a bit concerned standing in a place of knowledge and history here, as I might trip up trying to describe where we came from. It's quite interesting in a sense. So, in fact, it goes back to the 40s, and you may well recognise that title here, the Old People's Welfare Committee. It's not exactly a welcoming title, a bit clumsy, and the acronym OPWC is not much better. But one of those was formed somewhere in the Surrey Heath area. We weren't Surrey Heath then, we were something else. And basically, it's formed in the 40s, focusing on the needs of the elderly. People were really in quite a bad situation there in terms of their financial situation and their housing situation. So that committee got set up locally, and then various other committees around the country, and it formed into a national service. Sort of alongside the NHS, if you like, because that was forming in the late 40s. Just gambling through how we got to where we are now, somewhere in the 60s and 70s, Help the Aged popped up. And we're all familiar with that title. I'm sure it's stuck in the back of our brain, although it's disappeared now. Help the Aged. And that actually was set up as an appeal for refugees in Yugoslavia, I believe, and in India, for elderly people in a bad way in those countries. And that's where that emerged. But they carried on and developed a national charity focusing on the needs of the elderly in the UK. So they mushroomed up, in addition to the Old People's Welfare Committee, running two together. In the 70s, the National Old People's Welfare Committee decided that they would have a better face if they were rebranded, and they became Age Concern, which is sort of where we come in. We were then Age Concern, the local Age Concern. So you've got a situation where you've got two major charities running side by side in the UK, both of them very innovative, I think very successful in their own way, but duplicating in some senses. And so I'm sure there was a huge sort of kerfuffle about it. I don't remember, I wasn't involved in that sort of sector at that time. But in 2009, Age UK was formed, single national charity representing the needs of elderly people, put the two together. And I think they do a pretty strong job, to be honest. It's a national set of services. Naturally, you'll be aware of the shops that are around to raise money. They do a lot of research, and they do the campaigning, all for the benefit of the elderly. The local Surrey Heath Age Concern had the opportunity to join that group, and the people running the whole show at that stage locally decided that it was strong enough to run on its own and wouldn't join the Age UK. I think we had to pay something like 50k a year to be part of the whole national activity and get all the services. So the thinking there was that as a charity we were active, not particularly well known, but there were as a very good Citizens Advice Bureau acting in the area. We had people like Camberley Care with all their wonderful services, you know, the taxi services, and I think at the time they were doing quite a bit more support for people in terms of household jobs, etc. So the idea was that we got the package there and we didn't need it, basically. So we're totally independent as a charity, and we have had quite a lot of confusion over the years, and I know some people donate thinking they're donating towards us, and we think it's gone off to the other people. And I'm pretty sure it's gone the other way, but we don't admit that. But it's just confusing. Yeah. But we are very focused on this lonely and isolation bit. We don't do so many services as you might get from an Age UK approach. So that's just a bit of background. I don't know how much of that was new to you and how accurate I've got it, but it's didn't want to spend too much time. It's the here and now that's important. Go again. So there we go. That's our theme, helping to overcome isolation and loneliness. Our little tablets trying to express what our main aims are, and as pretty well relates back to how we looked at by the Charity Commission. Just go on there. It's quite interesting, this really, because I think most of us, see a room of experienced people here, will know about the benefits of taking the effort to go and have a chat to a lonely neighbour. And I can remember my mum all those years ago saying, I've just been round to see old Harry up the road and had a chat and cheer him up, you know. And he probably couldn't get rid of her, actually, because he was chatting away like crazy. But it was definitely much better for seeing somebody. And we know that instinctively as you know, I think that's what's been going on over the last 20 years is mammoth amounts of research into the whole business of loneliness and isolation. And it's been established quite clearly, the link between good health and avoiding loneliness. And I think this is really important, and it's sort of, in a sense, you'd hope that the NHS might be actually more supportive financially with these sorts of well-proven points now, that loneliness is comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day and the sort of damage that can do to someone over a lifetime, and the cost that might incur looking after them, you know, through the NHS, the impact on the likelihood of developing heart disease. It's all about lowering people's well-being and the impact on that. And this is quite staggeringly sort of, I think, 64% people likely to develop dementia if they're not actually socialising properly. It's quite stunning, really, and there's loads of research to back all that up. And I think anecdotally we know how important keeping in touch with people and just a casual chat can make a difference to somebody. And also the big connection with mental health, which I guess follows on from some of those other items there, but sort of the lead into depression comes often from loneliness. The curious thing is, what we know is that you can be lonely in a room full of people. So there's quite a difference. The social isolation is defined as where you're stuck. You can't get out for some sort of maybe medical reason, maybe lack of confidence, maybe you haven't got the appropriate transport that's holding you back. All sorts of things can actually deter people from feeling they might be a bit incontinent, for example. It's awkward business, but it's just that little thing, well, I won't go. Well, if no one's knocking the door and saying, come on, Charles, come on out, and you think, okay, I'll forget all about that bit and just come on out. So that impetus to come out. But what happens often when you lose your partner, I've experienced this, the door doesn't get knocked. Even however sociable you are, it's surprising, and the house is quite a lonely place. It's a very quiet place. So our charity has focused for a long time on people that literally live on their own. That's been one of our sort of points about whether we can take some on and extend some care to people. I'm trying to expand it to older couples, because so many people now, so many of us are successfully living well into our 80s and 90s. So I think there's a need for actually to sort of reach out more to couples, especially if you lose somebody and you've been with them for 60, 70 years. It's an even bigger loss. Anyway, I won't go on too much about that, but so that's where we're coming from. So how do we address that? I don't know if you noticed the last point on there, and that was the business that people don't like to admit that they're lonely. And I completely understand that. I mean, it sounds like a point of weakness, and particularly us blokes, we're really bad at that. Any hint, come out for a cup of tea, you can see the person backing into their bear cave and slamming the door because they don't want to have a cup of tea or a cream sandwich or something. So it's trying to find lots of different ways to engage with people, to overcome those barriers, to reduce that sort of, well, I'd rather not, why not come in? Sorts of things we service, the Rainbow Cafe, which you'll probably know in Albert Road, not Albert Square, Albert Road, down the back there, underneath the car park. Come on to that interesting history there, not unlike the history of your trust, actually, in some respects. Historically, we've been running a visiting befriending service. That's been going for many, many years. We're up to 58 people now. I'll come on to that a little bit more. But that literally is going into people's homes once a week. Wow. So that's and that's through a referral system. Come on to that in a minute. Agility classes there is more of a more recent addition. Born out of two things. One, we were getting too busy with our tea and memory parties to cope with the many people that wanted to come in. So we were looking for other things to offer. And we came up with this idea of agility classes. It's all around improving, as we get older, improving our ability to balance and to avoid falling because of it, to strengthen our limbs and to regain that ability to balance. So people are walking around, making a step up like this, and you get pushed. If your reflexes have gone, if you've forgotten how to overcome it, you fall. And those we all know how serious falls can be. So they're great fun. It's just an hour. Currently, the one closest to you is in the old arena, as it was, Places Leisure, and that's a drop-in class. It's £6 a go, and it has the advantage of it's turned into another social opportunity for people. Have a cup of coffee before they go in. Have a coffee before they come out, perhaps, and it's a nice way, a fun way to get out of the house. Another reason to get out as well and move.
Is that well attended?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, we have about, it's just under 40 on the books. Oh, wow. And we regularly get just under 20. Some days 10, we have been up to 25, which is a bit overwhelming, to be honest. It's a mixture of seated and standing exercises, very, very gentle but very thorough. It's based on something called Octago, which is the university in New Zealand did a load of research to try and identify the key elements to help people, how to avoid people falling. Right. And that's what, in the centre of this hour, there's a specific set of strengthening and balance. And literally it's encouraging people just to do that, to remember what it's like to do it. I'm showing off because that's the one I can do, but there are others which are not so easy. No. The one I like best is, do you remember when you were young and if you were out and got caught drinking and driving, you had to walk the white line? Oh, yeah. So there's that one, and I'm quite good at that one.
Yeah, good.
So that's something about my past, perhaps.
Is that through experience, is it?
Yeah. Anyway, so the list, the team memories, we open up the Rainbow Cafe on a Monday. It's closed to the public, and that's an afternoon, couple of hours, with a full tea and cream cakes, etc., and a bit of a quiz.
Best China.
Best China. It's got a history. I won't be here all day if I go into the history of how we got there. But between 20 and 25 people come along to that. And pretty well all of them are on their own, and it just gets them out. It's a reason to come. Some do come by bus, some get a lift, some get Camberley Care, but they make the effort to come out because they like it. But it's 50 parties a year. It's on every week except for 2 weeks around the Christmas time. So it's quite a big commitment. And what we do to keep that as fresh as we can, we have a different host every week. We have about 6 hosts. If everyone's interested in coming along being a host, it's a very easy job, but it's nice to have a different face and a different idea of how to, do they do a quiz or do they do something else? Maybe a short talk or something. It just makes it a little bit different, and I think it keeps it fresh. Then Men's Breakfast Club, well, really we're more sort of attached to that. They look after us more than we look after them. I have recommended quite a number of people to come along and join the Breakfast Club, and that's something that John runs. At the moment, that's located in the Weatherspoons pub, and that's a 9 o'clock breakfast time, and very, very popular with the blokes, and you can meet everybody there.
21 this morning.
Yeah, train drivers, aeroplane pilots, architects, scallywags,
Amazing.
all sorts. Just great fun.
Conversely, they've gone in to join many of your things since we met up with you.
Yeah.
I think part of you know my deceased husband Christopher. He started that group of men. He and I think Neville, were you one of them as well?
John enlisted me, but
They started with about 6 of them, and it grew and
Grew.
grew. He would be amazed and absolutely thrilled to know what's
Yes,
happening today.
yes, yeah. Well, it's all part of it, and I would just say,
Christopher was only with us too short, unfortunately, wasn't he?
It was short,
Unfortunately. But then he had his luncheon club, which I went to join for a while, but other events stopped it. But, you know, these are the things that they all one leads to another, which is important.
absolutely, it's quite a nice story. Another time over at Pint House, we actually met up and that happened. But to actually find a group and to something that appealed to men was a great boon to me, because we have a great deal of people that we reach out. Majority tend to be female ladies, and that's because you've got the nouns to say, I think I'm lonely, I could do something about it. But us blokes, we don't like to admit it too easily. So to find something that was moving like that we could set up to and support or be part of. And in fact, I mean, my attitude to this is Surrey Heath Age Concern is not the be-all and end-all. There's so many excellent things in our borough, but it's a vehicle for connecting up, and we do our specialist thing, which we can come on to in a minute about visiting and befriending. But I mean, U3A is a brilliant opportunity. What you do here is a great way of socialising around a solid interest. So fish and chip lunches, but just to explain that, we have linked up and partnered up with a number of the residential homes, Camberley Manor up there on Deep Cut, Camberley Heights on Pembroke Way, and Cedar Lodge, isn't it, as well? And they like to do their bit in terms of reaching out to the community and linking in. It helps us show off their services as well. And with the fish and chip lunch is provided by Camberley Heights, and that's a once a month lightweight fish and chip lunch. There used to be singers and things, but at the moment it's just a get together. But it's 30 people. I like it because it gives me an opportunity to invite couples. If couples come forward, we can expand our group. And what we find is that the wider we expand it to a variety of different people in different situations, volunteers emerge out of those situations. It takes time, and that's nothing better, I think, to be a volunteer.
How do you get to know about the lunches?
Make contact at the moment through our website. We have a little form there if people want us to put themselves forward, or a partner forward, or a member of family, and then we can make contact and say, well, this is the sort of stuff we've got going. Let's see what we can offer you, you know. So that's the way. And yeah, but also the Rainbow Cafe is a great place for people getting closer to us as a charity, and as all of our services. And that's a nice, gentle way they can have a chat to people, and that's a face-to-face. And I guess that's the thing. I won't carry on through all of those, but the thing I like about the Rainbow Cafe in particular is the fact it's everybody that comes through the door. You know, there's always this worry about access and are you being open and fair. Well, whoever comes through the door gets a smile there and gets engaged. So we've got a team. There's our team. You were talking, I think earlier we were talking about Sarah Jane down the bottom here. She's our CEO. She was a very dedicated councillor, borough councillor for several years, and then became the mayor for a year. If you remember her, she was the one with the red hair. Made a big impact.
And tattoos.
And tattoos. But she's brought an immense amount of contact, knowledge about how the local things work, and is a great communicator, both verbally and also on the world of Facebook, etc., and has really put us on the map. And you mentioned about me being around a lot. Well, it's mainly because people like Sarah seem to
Promote you.
push me. I don't do my own pushing. I don't know how to do it really very successfully. Angela looks after befriending service. Come on to that in detail in a moment. She's a very smart lady, ex-air hostess, ex-steward, and so she's very good at marshalling people and making them jump out of planes at the right time. She's ideal for that job. Kim, she's a Zumba trainer the other half of her week. She only does a couple of days. Everyone's a part-time person. We can't afford full-time, unfortunately. She's been with us for about a year, full of activity and great. She looks after all our events. And then the team at the bottom, Ruth is the manager of the Rainbow Cafe, and Claire's her support manager. And they're a loving, great team. Everybody can expect a really warm welcome from them. And they will actually help and signpost people to other services down there. So that's one of our, it's an important part of our package really, that Rainbow Cafe. It's open 5 days a week, 10 till 3. And the food is purposely low, as cheap as we can make it, to be honest. Not cheap food, but cost-wise. So that there is a place you can get something warm, get a hot potato or something, or soup. And it's a battle, even though the lease is given to us by the borough, it's still a battle to make sure that it washes its face and, you know, we can keep it up. How am I doing on time?
Well, it's 5 to 1 at the moment.
Oh, shall I carry on for a bit? All right. Yeah? Okay. Facts and figures. On the befriending side, well, you can see there it's almost 2,000 befriending visits to people during a year. We're up to 58 people now. The way the service works is that people are recommended to us through a service called social prescribing. And social prescribing is a service that's been built and developed over the last few years, and it sits between the GPs and the social workers and the community. And the GPs, etc., will say, well, Charles is not doing too well. He really, ought to be. It sounds as if he's very lonely and not making use of his time very well. Can you find him something that might attract him and get him out of the house? And their job is to look across the community. You may well have people that have come along here, a view of where can you get this person into the community and to get them engaged. And it could well be here. It could be someone. He's got interesting in history, perhaps, or whatever. We get quite a lot of people who are basically declared lonely, not quite sure what they can do, and so they get pushed towards us. And we try and work out whether we can provide them with a visitor, or whether we can turn them into a volunteer. So that can happen, and we do quite a bit of that. But a lot end up being on our befriending list. So we find a volunteer that we believe, having interviewed the two halves, that they'll get on and become a good friend. It's as simple as that, really. It's like being a good neighbour, but through an agency, if you like. And Angela then she then really looks after the interests of both parties. So if it doesn't work out too well to start with, you just feed it back to Angela. You haven't got anything awkward, no problems in terms of saying, no, this is not working. generally speaking, it's 19 out of 20 the matches work. And then they last forever, or at least till people move on to wherever else they're going to move on to. So it's a long commitment. It means that somebody goes through a lonely person's threshold every week. Some people don't get a visit of any sort. Some maybe get the family occasionally. So there's a friendly face going in there, socialising, not doing any domestic work. Clearly, if that person is beginning to ail or fall away, then there's somebody independent that could just flag it up gently, and that's where Angela again comes in. So I guess the way I'd like to sort of get you to visualise that, it's every week, that's the thing. It was 58. If you imagine 2 large coaches, 60-seater coaches drawing up in the centre of Camberley, and 60 elderly people staggering off it, and then a whole variety of different other individuals getting off the other coach, quite young, male, female, all sorts. So it's 120 people get together every week, and it makes a big difference, and the feedback is tremendous for what it can do. Following COVID, we were almost destroyed in terms of the visiting service. I won't go back into all the agonies of that. We all went through that. We've been able to rebuild it. In that period, as we got the befriending going again, some of the people we started to send in volunteers to built their own confidence up, rebuilt their networks, and said, I'm okay now, thank you, which is brilliant. But generally speaking, once we're in, it stays in. And overall, we do all those volunteer hours, as you say, almost 6,000 a year. We have 25 cafe volunteers on the bank, the befriending ones I've mentioned, and then all sorts of volunteers for the events. And then the list of events there, the team memory, agility. We try to keep these very constant. You can't just sort of pop up for a few months and then disappear again. You've got to be at it. The Rainbow Cafe, that's how it started back in the 70s. I don't know if anyone remembers that at that particular time. I was living, living up in the Midlands at that stage. It was an initiative mainly by the Rotary Club, but others were engaged in the whole thing. Ended up in Obelisk Way, apparently. Not sure if it's Obelisk Way as we know it now, because the town has changed so much. It's moved 5 times but survived each time. And a little bit like your story about saving the museum, you also moved around the town centre, and finally ended up in Albert Road. I mean, it really is it's a community asset, really, and although it's owned now and we lease it from the borough, technically speaking, it was a community asset. And at one stage, I think £50,000 was spent on building a brick-built versions somewhere. I can never quite work out where it was in the town, but you may know, you may remember where it was. But
we had one. There was one outside what was the Army and Navy.
that's what, yes, that octagonally thing.
One.
Yeah, I can vaguely remember that.
Extremely successful.
Yeah, it was a good location, that.
Yeah.
But we got squeezed out, but that's all another. Water under the bridge. We know how they can squeeze us out. The museum almost got squeezed out, didn't it, really? Yeah, so it has got a history, and this is why I loved it when I got involved in Rotary, just to find there was this, and they'd lost that. I'd almost forgotten that they'd been done. Obviously, it was years and years ago, but it's the sort of thing that makes a difference, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So I love the idea that I was back in, trying to help keep it going, and running these things is not straightforward. It's
Many of those things are so cyclical. I mean, probably Rotary was perhaps a much busier organisation in those days than it is today. So things like Probus, what they did in the past.
Yes.
And now they struggle to get members.
You're right. They used to say that, basically Rotary was basically the town.
Yeah,
They could almost get anything done because
Yeah.
they were all the councillors. But that's another. So, anyway, there we go. So, but it probably is the tiniest cafe in the whole of Surrey with the biggest car park above us, which is just one little boast that we've got. After COVID, we thought we have to come out. We weren't known very well. So, and a lot of our funding was beginning to disappear from the past. Big legacies that have been left. We'd quietly worked through those. They've been used for what they were supposed to be, which was to deliver services, but they weren't being replenished. So we had to sort of try and get ourselves up and out and say, we're here, we need support from the local community. So we got rid of the sort of rather dull logos with them. Both of them got the different connotations. The NHS had adopted it. I think Pride had adopted the rainbow as well. It was confusing as to who we were. So we've come up with our floral tribute to ourselves here.
Before you become a new unitary authority, you'll probably have to change again.
Who knows?
Who knows?
I mean, again, who knows how it's going to affect everybody. We are very independent. At the moment, the borough now do not give any cash at all towards our charity. We were one of the 4 that survived the cutbacks in the last 2 years, and even we've been chopped now. So we had our last 5k from them, and we're completely independent from them really now. Although we're one of their trusted partners, and it's important we have a strong connection, but financially they can't help us anymore. One of the things we came up with was we're putting ourselves forward for the King's Award for Voluntary Services, which we achieved, and it was quite an experience being vetted by that team that come out and look at you, decide whether you're a proper volunteer organisation or whether you're, mainly driven by people with a salary. And with our 120 volunteers, and they spent lots of time in the Rainbow Cafe, we were delighted to get to that. That's an MBA for volunteers. So each of us that are part of it have that award, and it's for perpetuity for the
Long time, you mean?
for a long time for the charity. But it's a great way of publicising what we get up to, and we were pleased. And this is one of the benefits of getting involved in these charities. Suddenly you find yourself in the front line meeting these people with very big hats. And now with the lovely Diana Moran. Also, we'd always wanted to have some strong patronage that might help us to project what we do. And someone said, I know the right person, and I know how to contact her. So they got in touch with Diana Moran, who's been absolutely brilliant, the Green Goddess from the 80s. If you remember all of that, yeah. She's 86 now, and she looks like that on the left. She was the face of Oil of Ulay for almost 11 years. And she called her house, she made so much money out of it, she called it Ulay House. Fantastic. So she must bath in the stuff. So that was great, and our trustees are listed there, which I won't take time because I'm worried about now. Almost getting to the end of this thing. Just to let you know, the funding challenge, we have to chase donations. We have lots of relationships with local organisations. Some of them are national. We've been very lucky to get a major community fund donation for the 3 years. It's £120,000 over 3 years. Wow. Keep us going. They liked what we're doing, and we could prove it. That finishes at the end of next year, so we'll be out and looking hungry and thinner. But one of the key things is all of these national funders, they do expect to see that the local community are doing their part. And we've now got our community fundraising. I think we're now up to about £11,000 a year, which we were getting £300 before COVID. That's how sort of down we were in terms of reaching out. But we have to keep very active to do it. Because we're out there and really known for doing lots of stuff, we are getting approached by organisations to become their charity of the year. So Rotary have got that. We got with the 51 Club, Camberley Bowling Club, for example. So those are current ones this year. And we've been very lucky to get a lot of support from Hullabaloo over the way. I'll come back to that in a moment. But also from the Login, where we've been doing some really nice musical nights. And
Charles abseiled down the spinning guitar.
And yeah, so in a mad moment last year, Rotary came up with this idea of having a fire walk. And I said, well, we're desperate because we were actually 2 years ago, we were getting towards flat broke. So I leapt in and said, yeah, we'll partner you with that. So with their support, in total 45 walkers turned up to walk on fire. For across 6 charities, not just us, £16,000 was raised, and we got £6,000 of that. I had 18 walkers walking with me on the. But somehow or another, the following year, we said, well, what are we going to do next? And someone came up with this idea of going down the tower. So, and that's where I've got this year on, just for a bit of a laugh, really. And I also, if you think about it, you're looking up these towers, and all you can see is a large backside of people coming down. So I came up with the idea of seeing if I could sell my left buttock. And we did. We got 250 quid for that. Quite a meaty treat, I think.
I was saying this morning, I think probably you ought to be flying around on a tiger moth standing on
No,
the
no,
wing next to you.
I don't know what.
You're looking snug.
These things, you don't have to train for either of these. I don't think I want to do anything I've got to train for or risk for.
Yeah, I think it deserves a special clap on that, don't you? It was
Oh,
a
right,
brilliant
thank
thing to do. Thank you. Well done.
Thanks very much. Yeah, so we raised £6,000 in the end. I think pretty well. You've been very patient, thank you. So really, it's just, if you do want to get involved, if you do want to come down the next bit of town, no, but if you'd like to get involved at all as a volunteer or are interested in any of the events, we have a very, very full website, which is great for contact, but also the Rainbow Cafe is there. And I think the visiting and befriending, we're always looking for volunteers for that, and it's a great thing to do. It's sort of probably a couple of hours commitment once a week, and all the feedback we get is our volunteers probably feel they get more out of it than the people they visit for the interest in it, and it's yeah. So that's me. So that's.
Do you think you ought to add a slide with your website on it for the next
Yeah.
time? And then
I'll add. There we go. No, it's at the bottom there. Yeah. Shack, Surrey Heath Age Concern. Yeah. Is that okay? The next quiz, actually I put at the quiz, we've come up with a local knowledge section, just 10 questions, which I nipped across from there and photographed your boards downstairs and pinched the questions off that. So if you fancy coming along to the real thing, it's next Wednesday. It's only £10 a head. It's a nice cheese supper as well, and it's a very easy-going. Well, I'm the quiz master, so I stumble all over the place. We normally have a good night. There's about 25 to 30 people come. Plenty of room. So at 7 o'clock in the Hullabaloo on Wednesday. The next one is on the 30th. Yeah. And so you can come on your own, and we'll fit you in with another team, or come with a team of 4 or 6, however you want to do it.
and it's on the website.
And it's all on the website, yeah.
And a bit of paper here, isn't it?
I've put the leaflet out, yes. Thanks, John. Yeah, thank you. So thank you. Any questions? You must be exhausted. No, I am, anyway.
No, well done, Charles.
Okay, thank you.
Can you tell us what you were doing before you retired? Was it anywhere near related to anything you're doing now, or was that
Well,
completely
I was a marketing man, basically.
Oh, well, that's a...
With a
understand that.
publicity bent, I guess you would say.
very
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
You must be very proud of what you've achieved so
So
far.
I'm enjoying it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good fun. Yeah, and I think that's the payback. It's the good fun, you know. And yeah, I don't get many people knock the door, but I go out and pester people myself.
How the Breakfast Club met up with Charles.
Okay, cheers.
How the Breakfast Club met up with Charles. Unfortunately, we had a period where we lost 3 guys, and one of them said they wanted to give the money to Surrey Heath Age Concern. So, and that chap was an accountant, and he didn't like to see the money going via one of these giving things where someone took a rake off. So I went down to the Rainbow Cafe with the grubby notes in my hand, and I met this chap who willingly took the money off me. And of course, then he came along to have breakfast most weeks, and quite a few other things have ensued for both of us out of that.
Yes,
So
it's really good fun, isn't it?
it's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All sorts of events that we put on to try and
Yeah.
brighten ourselves up. Yeah.
Well, that's been quite an amazing adventure as far as I'm concerned. All these different things that you've managed to do, and very successfully.
Thank you.
So incredible talk, that.
Okay, thank you.
So thanks very much. You keep on getting clapped, but there is a sequence to this. Anyway, for those who are still here, there's only 1 or 2 escaped. The last talk of before our summer recess is The Island of Menorca by Ken Crick, and that's on the 31st. That's the last day of this month. We then have August off, but we'll be back in September, 4th of September. So we'll be looking for speakers then as well. Thank you all for coming and supporting us so well. And it's amazing how many people are managing to survive because they've still got all their families with them. And I think, having listened to you, that's my feeling, that
Yes.
I've got my family. And
Very precious, aren't they?
They are, very,
Yeah.
very.
And conversely, with the Breakfast Club, we've got quite a few widowers. And, you know, 2 or 3 of them said to me, when the wife died, they'd had busy lives looking after sick wives. We think of women looking after men, but in fact there are now quite a few men looking after women. And, you know, they turn around and say, what do I do now? Because if you've been looking after your wife for 2 or 3 years, all your men friends have generally dissipated us up to a degree for one reason or another. And that's certainly how we've picked up men in the Breakfast Club.
It's a challenge you don't expect to get, in a sense, do you? Well, you know, as you grow up through the decades, you think, well, I'll probably get retired, and then you realise that you're actually left with this sort of great blank space to go
I've
and
got to
find your
look
way
back at
forward
it.
again after, you know.
The wife had recorded this,
Yeah.
Michael Mosley doing a talk on longevity.
Oh, yes.
Which is a bit ironic. It was only recently shown, and I only half listened to it, and I must go back and find it, because there was a group in Japan somewhere, and amongst many other things that sort of, they had a lot of old people in that community, but one of them, and I only listened to it lightly, and it said about communities like this, how that was a contributor to their longevity. And it made me think, oh God, you know, Breakfast Club, Surrey Heath Age Concern and things like that, we're all doing that bit to get people through the front door. And I remember from a sales talk a million years ago, they said salesmen working from home, the hardest door they could get through was their own front door. And I think that actually happens with aged people, you know, they can all of a sudden be indoors and life goes in, and hopefully people like Charles and that can reach out to them and give them more
Slip into
opportunity.
the back door. Yeah.
With your shoehorn, get them
Yeah,
out.
yeah. An estate agent told me that the worst door to ever knock on was never knock on a yellow door. He said he never had any good. I don't know. He's just got, yeah, always dangerous. He always got told off.
I haven't seen any yellow doors,
I know.
actually.
Well, there you go.
Well, only with a ribbon tied round it. I can't recall a pop song of a million years ago.
Right. Anyway, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
that. That was brilliant. Okay. You're free to go.